They thought she was just a widow, a quiet woman who sold yams and tomatoes, who raised her children alone and never aged a day in 7 years. But Chinenye was never just a widow, and her story was never just a tragedy. Once upon a time, in a village so small it never appeared on the maps, where the roads were more familiar with feet than tires and the wind carried the gossip of chickens and children, there lived a woman named Chinenye. She was the kind of woman people barely noticed until they needed her, the kind who could stretch a measure of rice to feed 5 mouths, the kind who knew when the rain would fall before the clouds gathered, the kind who smiled even when her world was quietly crumbling. Chinenye was a widow. Her husband, Obi, had died 7 years ago under strange circumstances. He had gone to the river to fetch water and never returned. Some said he drowned, though no body was ever found. Others whispered darker things, that he had been taken by the spirits for debts unpaid. No one said it directly to Chinenye, of course. They just looked away when she passed, muttered her name under their breath, and treated her with pity. She had 4 children. Samto, her oldest son, was 16 years old, tall, reserved, and too serious for his age. Adora was 13, Chioma was 10, and Shabik was 5 years old. The little boy believed the moon followed him home. Chinenye sold foodstuffs in the market: tomatoes, fish, garden eggs, and yam. She rose with the sun and returned late at night. Her shop wasn't the most colorful or the loudest, but she was known for fair prices and never cheating customers, even when she barely had enough to eat. She lived at the edge of the village, near the forest, in a mud brick house with a zinc roof that sang during storms. She had no close friends, and the village women avoided staying near her small shop too long, because there was something about Chinenye, something off. It began during Harmattan season. A trader passing through the market claimed she saw Chinenye talking to someone at her shop long after nightfall, but no one else was there. Another woman swore she saw Chinenye standing outside her house at midnight, whispering into the air, barefooted. The stories grew. She talks to spirits, someone said. She walks into the forest alone and comes back wet with no rain. Her husband didn't die. She gave him to something. Chinenye heard the whispers, but said nothing. Instead, she sold her yam, packed her goods, and went home to her children. That night, she stared out the window long after the moon rose. One market day, a stranger arrived in the village. He came on foot, with a bag made of leather and eyes that shined brightly. He introduced himself as Ikena, a spice merchant from the west. He took a shop beside Chinenye and began selling herbs and powders. None of the villagers recognized. Dried petals that hissed when they touched water. Seeds that smelled like burnt honey. Leaves that shine like glass. He was charming. The women loved his riddles. The men respected his knowledge. Even the elders began asking him questions. But he watched Chinenye, every move she made and every word she spoke. One day, as they closed their shops, he said, "You smell of the old world." Chinenye paused. "I sell tomatoes." He smiled. "And yet you smell of earth, of roots that remember too much." She said nothing and walked away. That night, Ikena stood at the edge of her compound, looking into her home, and Chinenye stared back, unblinking, through the window. That night, Chinenye opened the trapdoor in her bedroom floor. Beneath it was a small hollow space, lit by an old lantern. Inside were jars of powders, a calabash sealed with wax, and a cloth-wrapped bundle. She opened it. Inside was a wooden mask, painted with symbols long forgotten, with human hair around the edges of the mask. She stared at it for a long time, then whispered, "He has come to finish it."